Well, hello and welcome back to the Building Investors YouTube channel. This part of the video is going to be a little extra segment that I'm going to give you before we actually get to the main video. So if you want to skip to how to build barn doors and install them, go to minute number 2. But I forgot to show all the painting of this room in either the last video or this current video that I'm editing. And so I figured I should probably throw it in here since I have the video and it looks really fun. So anyways, we're going to start by trimming the paint in the room. We want to do that first because when you roll over the trimming, you can hide the lines a lot better, but when you trim over the rolling, if that makes sense, you might see the lines where your paintbrush was. And so I recommend trimming first. It makes it easier. You get rid of all the hard work first, and then you can work on the easy work of rolling the room. So just a little quick clip here. We're painting the entire room gray. We painted the trim white. I would recommend painting the white first because it's a lot harder to trim along the top of the trim because it's only like a ½ inch thick. Some trim is actually very thin on top, so it's hard to actually trim it at all. So anyways, once you get all the painting trim done in the room, it'll look like this. And now you can move on to the easy step of rolling. And I would recommend getting a painter stick like you see leaning up against the wall there. Those are super nice and handy. And then it can extend for high ceilings or it can contract for tight spaces, but it is way easier on your hand to use a painter stick than it is to just use your hand with a roller. So once you get that going, just roll on the wall, use as much paint as you need, but as little as possible. You can try to get away with not doing a second coat, but usually you have to come back and do a second coat. This paint covers quite well, but you know, just paint away until the room is all gray and then you'll be done. So rolling on the right wall here and then switching to the left wall. It's gonna look nice. So anyways, this is what the finished wall room looks like, and I'm quite happy with it. So anyways, next clip is gonna be the beginning of the video, so I hope you enjoy. Here it comes right now. Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to be assembling a barn door today. This is a made in China barn door that I believe was purchased from hardware and stuff. It's Wayfair, that's the word. It's from Wayfair. So anyways, as you already saw, I've installed one. That way I know how to do it. Now I can show you how to do it. So with no further ado, let's open this box and start putting things together. Okay, what I like to do is I like to cut it as neatly as possible and then open the box up. So basically just flip it over, take the top of the box, and use it as my trash bin. So now I can take all the bubble wrap and all the extra cardboard and stuff and throw it in that box. That way I can throw it away easier later. So let's continue to unwrap everything and then I'll show you the instructions and we'll slap it together. Okay, now that everything is unboxed, we have the main pieces out. So there's a side panel here and a right one here. So this one will go on this side. But these pieces, B1 through 3, B3 goes in the middle, B1, B2. This one has a slot for the underneath where the door slides, right down there. It'll have a little track. And then the top is flat, of course. And then these panels here slide into there. And so you'll get a bunch of these and they're labeled accordingly. So you start with like C1 and there's C2s and a C3. And then you sandwich them all together and there's these screws with washers that go into here and two down there. And it sucks them together, makes it real nice. And then these little white things are caps to cover it. So anyways, all of our trash is neatly in a pile there. And so let's assemble everything I explained right there. Okay, once you got it all screwed together, then you can move on to your next step. Next steps are the rollers and then the door handle. I'll put the door handle on now. So depending on if you're using a single door or double door, you want to make sure you put this on the correct side depending on which way it's sliding. So I've already done the left door, so which means I need to stick, last time I did this side, so this time I need to stick it on this side, and then stick this down there. I'll go with the camera here. put this plate on top, and these screws will pop through, and then they'll sit nice and flush right here, a little handhold right there, which is nice. And then these, see there's a little divot inside there. Stick those on top of there, and then slide the screws into their slots and start threading them in. And then just thread them in as far as you can by hand to save you time. And then once you get all the way up there, just hold it under your handle, and then you can take your Allen wrench, stick it in the slot, spin it around until it gets tight, and then give it a little bit of a torque there. And then this one, the same thing. Just make sure it's seated properly. Turn it around, tighten it, double check. But it's good. Let's do those now. Use a pair of glue handle pliers and a crescent wrench to tighten the bolts, but if you have an actual wrench that's the right size, then go ahead and use that, because at least I have a chance of marking things up. So there's a little plastic thing in this one. Just open it up. These four. So 4 of these. They have 2 washers and a nut. Take them out. Make sure you put this on the correct side, so the handle's on that side, which means I need to go this side. So slide that down, and put the nut and the washer on the bottom. Tighten that down by hand, and then do the same for the second one. Actually, I'm gonna do that. Let's see, yeah, I think I like that better actually. So you can put the bolt on one side or the nut on one side. I think the nut's gonna look better on the visible side. So we're going to do that on this door. So, and then same exact thing right here. Take these apart. Push it through. And then washer and then nut. Second one. And then grab the top with your pliers, and then just keep it stationary while you tighten the bottom. Always tighten your nut, not the bolt. Not a big deal if you tighten the bolt and the nut, but the nut's supposed to spin, the bolt is not supposed to spin. And then tighten this one too. And with that, your door is ready to be installed. Now all you got to do is install the track, and that's what we'll do next. Okay, one more thing before we install the door up there on the track is they have these little stops. They have an offset screw hole, you stick the screw in it, and in the directions it says to measure up a 1/2 inch from the door there. Make a mark, and I came in 4 inches from the sides. This keeps the rollers from jumping off the track, so screw these into those little marks you made there, and you'll be able to swivel these to keep the door from jumping off the tracks. Just like that. Okay, jumping over into voiceover land here because we've got a lot of people talking to us at work today, so I wasn't able to explain in person with the camera what's going on, but I can explain it on the video here. So anyways, we're drilling the holes with a drill bit that is slightly smaller than the bolts that we're sticking through this bracket. We want this bracket to be nice and level, that way the doors slide together and it looked good and level, there's no gaps and all that stuff. And once you get it bolted up there with the spacers, which I'll show later in the video, then you can move on to this door slide guide, I would call it. So basically all you're going to have to do is, I'm going to put it in the middle of this trim because it looks nice. It'll, in the directions it just says put it on the door frame next to the door, whatever, where the trim is. So behind this trim, I know that there is framing, so I can bite a nice strong connection there. Doesn't need it, I don't think so, but it's nice to have that framing to back it up. So I'm taking my drill bit, which is slightly smaller than these screws, and then drilling a hole in each of the holes, and then I can come back and put the screws in. Then the screws will lock it in nice and tight. Again, this roller, which I'll be installing here soon, will keep the door from kind of flopping around on the bottom and keep it in line, which is very necessary because barn doors, of course, are only rolling and on the track above. So once you get that installed with the screws, you can take your roller with the little washer and the screw, or bolt, I guess it would be, slide it to where you want it, and then tighten it down. And then you can do the final adjustments on this as soon as you get your door set and leveled. That way it looks nice and tight to the wall and evenly spaced everywhere. So once that's installed, you can move on to the next item on the list, which would be, I probably remove this tape and make it look nice, but I'm still painting in this process. So picking up the door itself here, which is fairly heavy, but not too bad for one person, I'm going to set it on the track and then adjust it to where exactly I like it. There's not a lot of adjustment in the actual rollers themselves, and so you want to make sure that that track is perfectly level when you install it. So make sure you got the door handle on the right side, or this side, the left side, which would be the correct side is what I meant to say. And then you can hang it on the track there and then roll it back and forth. This is going to look super cool, having two barn doors coming together to make two rooms, either the same room or separate rooms, which is super handy. And then, yeah, I mean, it rolls nice and smooth. I like it. Just take one finger to roll this and then put them both together. And you want to make sure that there's no gap, bigger or larger on the top or bottom. That way you can just have it as tight as possible. So next up is the door stops themselves. These have two little Allen head screws on the top. Those just tighten down to the track and keep your door from going too far one direction. So this stop, I want it to go all the way to the trim on the door, but not too much, not any farther, and not to where it's blocking the door still. So I'm going to move it over and then figure out exactly where that stop goes and then tighten it down. And then if it's done right, it should stop right flush with the trim, which will look super sharp. So next up are these little tabs that I put on earlier. The last time I was talking to the camera with those screws, those things spin and they keep that from jumping off the track. Kind of important. You don't want that to fall on a kid. So those are the spacers I was talking about earlier that I forgot to show. Those little mountain shaped spacers keep that track spaced away from the wall enough for the door not to hit, and then the bolt to bolt through the wall there. So I wanted to show that before we got too much farther. So finishing up the video here, this is the finished room with a little baby gate there to separate the toddler's nursery from the infant nursery. It's going to have a nice gate so the adults can go in and out, but the kids can't hurt each other, which is super nice because when you have a crawling baby and a toddler, they won't beat each other up if they're in different rooms. So anyways, what do you think? I think it looks pretty good. Hope you enjoyed watching. If you haven't, if you have any questions, I should say, about this video that you didn't get answered in the video, please let me know. I'd love to answer it and all that jazz. So anyways, have a good one. God bless.